Welcome, one and all, to the very first ever chat with a patron. If you guys are supporters, let's hang out, let's chat. I've got a few names that have requested to do this on topics like commercial EVs, and and just a couple names that said, "No, just put me on the list. We'll figure something out." Maybe they have topics in mind, maybe they don't. So we'll do that. It might be next week that we're talking about commercial EVs. I don't know. We'll find out. So let's see here. Today we've got Al, who recently went to Guangzhou, China, and has some info for me. So first, introduce yourself and then tell me what you were doing in China. Oh, and in the comments, guys, if you're here, let us know.
Yeah, so I'm actually I'm a recovering engineer.
You can't recover.
Recovering, and believe it or not, a former ASIC designer. And then I worked on drones in like the 90s. So
Ooh.
I'm a little ahead of my time, it seems.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I was in China with my wife who was working. We actually went 40 days in Asia. We were in Singapore, Bangkok, Taipei, and then Guangzhou, about 10 days in each. And
Wow.
I'm a international roadie at this point. I carry her bag, so it's not a bad gig.
That's great. That's the way to do it. There
Yeah.
is a chance that my editor, Rosh, will be joining me in China. We'll find out in a matter of hours when the embassy opens because he got it in his visa request in as soon as he knew that he needed to,
Mhm.
and on a rush. But but then the holidays and the weekend, and it's like, oh geez, 4 days in a row. So he'll find out. He'll find out. It is now about midnight there, midnight ish, because of course Nepal time change is not an even hour. It's off by 15 minutes. That's helpful. But that's what happens, I suppose, when you don't want to be on China time or India time. I'm not going to pick a side, but I'm going to lean closer to India. Um, so what was your impression of Guangzhou?
You know, in City Slickers, there's a line where the Phil is arguing with his wife, and she says, "I hate you," and he says, "I hate you more. If hate were people, I'd be China."
All right. So
So
that's
a lot of people, a lot of people.
yeah. There
I've been going to China for 25 years on either vacation or work, non non Tesla type of work, but just work. And
Mhm.
it's exploded to the point of I think it's almost on the edge of what it can what's tolerable. I'm really curious to hear when you get back what you think about it.
Well, I was in Shanghai for the auto show, and I had lived and worked in Shanghai 20 years ago. So
Hmm.
Shanghai's transformation has been pretty radical. For one
Yeah.
thing, you can see the sky now. It's not perpetually blanketed in a brown haze. So
Hmm.
that's a big difference. I went out one morning, my first morning there, I got up early, maybe 6:37, and I went out to just walk around, and I could hear birds and I couldn't hear
Hmm.
cars. And that was a pretty radical change from the chaos of before. But in the process of modernizing, one thing they've done, unfortunately, is they'll say, okay, we're going to tear down this whole block and put up uh, a skyscraper with, mixed use. There might be offices, there might be housing, but what they got rid of is all of the cool stuff that made it a walkable city. So on the ground floor, it used to be that every single block, everywhere you went, had a a, a s- a tailor, a seamster of some kind,
Yep. Yep.
would have
Classic.
laundry, would have
Hmm.
endless convenience stores, people selling random doodads that you might need, like a charger or a cable or something. And now the whole ground floor, the outside is just windows. And even on Nanjing Road, where the tourists all are, they would take out 10, 15 stores and replace it with an M&M store. Well,
Hmm.
M&M store is cool and all, but I don't know if you
Everywhere.
know, there's another one a half mile from here. That's
Hmm.
insane. But they both are willing to pay more rent than those 10 or 15 cool stores combined. And I point out There's this thing I have always called the antique mall death spiral. You've got this cool little mall in Edmonds. We had one called Old Milltown, and it had player piano arcade and a comic shop, and the chocolate store and the fudge store and all these cool things that you'd want to see. Oh, and now we just added an antique store. Well, the antique store does almost no business, but they make all the money there. So when the next shop goes empty, it gets replaced with an antique store. And pretty soon the whole place is an antique store and no one is there because no one comes for the antiques. They come for all the cool things. And now you've killed your mall.
Mhm.
So, uh, i- what do you do about internet in China when you're there? Does your phone work? Does your Gmail work? Right?
Man, China as an American is probably one of the toughest places to travel. There's the internet doesn't work very well, even the Wi-Fi. Um, you can't pay for anything easily unless you have the app, and if your internet's not working well, you can't use your app. Any restaurant you go into, you don't interface with a person, you interface with a QR code or a screen. So you pre-order stuff and then you got to pay usually before it shows up. And it's hard. It just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's a tricky place.
That was the experience I had was I could not get the VPN, the cellular to work on my Pixel, my Google
Yep.
Pixel. No matter what I did, I just couldn't get the darn thing to work. And I would ask around in the tourist years, "Hey, where do I get an eSIM?" And they're like, "Who knows, man? Really? This should be
Yeah.
okay." And I had a VPN, so when I was on Wi-Fi, I could make it work. And you'd go to
Yeah.
places that, well, oh, we have free Wi-Fi. I'm like, great. And you go to log in, and it says, "Give me your phone number so I can send you a code to unlock it." I don't have a Chinese phone number. So that was really frustrating. Um,
And a
yeah.
lot of the screens when you scan something, they come up in Chinese. And so my wife would take her phone and overlay my phone with the translate, and we try to work through the menus to order something for lunch. It was just comical at some point.
What I would do in China 20 years ago was I had my, my Lonely Planet tour book, and in
Mhm.
the back of it was a menu. And I would just
Mhm.
point and they go, nope. And I'd point and they go, I mean, kind of, yes, let's say yes. Okay, one of those.
Mhm.
And it's fun because if you think of it in English, if it says, fried chicken, uh, they would go, well, we do have chicken and we can fry it. So what you get is not necessarily what you wanted, but I mean, it's fine. I'll eat that too. Uh,
We ordered a drink, and the translation said blueberry sparkling soda,
mm,
and we thought sounds interesting. So
sure.
this sparkling soda comes with these two ice sculptures of blue bears.
Berry. Yeah.
So the blue berries were ice sculptures of blue bears, and we're just looking at it, going, that was a lost in translation moment.
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
The big thing I enjoyed in Nepal on that trip was they have a coffee culture. They have an
Mm.
espresso culture,
Yeah.
and you don't hear about it because they don't export much of their coffee, but they
Yeah.
uh, roast coffee there. I don't know where it's grown. It doesn't seem like something that would necessarily grow there, but they have and they have barista schools. And I must have taken 10 pictures of my coffee in Nepal because every last one of them was gorgeous. And sometimes
Mhm.
you'd go somewhere fancy where they really rip you off, and your gorgeous, amazing mocha is like $2. The nerve.
Mhm.
And it's, so cheap, but a lot of fun. Any any pointers, any tips or tricks I should think about?
Don't walk anywhere.
Mhm, mhm.
You will get run over by a myriad of scooters going every direction, no matter if it's a street or a sidewalk or a piece of concrete. They'll be coming at you. Um, a friend of mine says, "Don't ever look back when you're walking or driving. It's
Mm.
you got to be, like they don't have a rearview mirror in the Cybertruck. Perfect. Don't ever look back."
Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
Because if you're if you're gonna die, you're gonna die, but no sense stressing out about it. No sense seeing it coming. Make the death a little quicker.
make the
Uh,
death quicker. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Um,
I am working on. I reached out to my contacts at Tesla US and said, "Can you get me in touch with the right people in Tesla China to make sure that
mhm.
I'm able to see a YL while I'm there?" Because they do have them in some showrooms. I have no earthly idea which ones or how to find which ones. It's not like here where I could just call them or ask someone at any service center to check. Uh, the Great Firewall of China is not impermeable, but
Right.
uh,
Tricky.
in, inconvenient.
Yeah. In just about every shopping center, and there's often like two or three competing shopping centers in a block. Um, there's usually a Tesla showroom. I saw at least three or four of them. But there's EVs on display in the shopping center from every company. So you
Yes.
just walk into a shopping center, there'll be an EV on display. And I follow this pretty closely. You follow this pretty closely. You haven't heard of half these brands.
Right.
There's anything and everything out there.
Right. And some of the brands don't even bother with a non-Chinese name. So I'm like, what
Yeah,
is the name of this car? What am I even looking? I can't read, you guys.
yeah.
So it's yeah, that was what I did in the week leading up to the auto show was just go to every showroom I could find, cover every
Hmm.
car I could. And yeah,
Hmm.
sometimes you'd go to look for one and you'd find two other brands you've never heard of. Uh,
So you
and
lived in China 20 years ago?
yeah. I
So,
mean, on and off. I worked, for an import company. I worked,
mhm,
import-export company. I worked for a real estate company in Shanghai that, rents apartments to gringos, and
mhm.
that was the most useless job ever because nothing I could do would convince them to listen to me. And they were just so their approach to everything was so Chinese. They said, "Oh, make me this. We need a animated GIF button, a little ad. Here's the dimensions." And I made what I thought was a very tasteful, classy ad. And they said no. And in the end, she kept changing it until in the end it was yellow and red flashing. I'm like, this is the
Perfect.
most Chinese ad ever. No gringo will ever click on this. And
Mhm.
turns out none did because why the hell would you? And she would get mad. Please stop saying it's too Chinese. We are Chinese. I'm like, right, but your customers aren't. So uh, it was. I had a contact. I met a guy who was looking for a place. He said, "I'm going to be looking probably around the first of the month. I'm going to start looking." So I told my boss, and she said, "Great, give me his information right now." I'm like, "Okay, but you're not going to call him, right? Because if you call him now, you're going to kill the deal." She comes back. He's not looking for a place. I'm like, "You called him? Honey, you got to Okay, well, you burnt that contact for both of us. So good job."
Mhm.
But yeah, it was less impossible to get around then because everything wasn't digital yet. Um, and the firewall didn't really affect me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But there was only like 16 million cars in China back in 2000 and no significant roads between major cities.
Hmm, hmm,
So, and the rate of growth of cars went from like 16 million to I think it's about 350 million in the last 25 years, whereas in the US it's been give or take 250 million for that time.
yeah, yeah,
So it's a mind-blowing acceleration of growth, and you see that everywhere.
yeah.
When we flew home, we flew from Guangzhou to Beijing on a Chinese jet that
Hmm,
is a 737 A320 equivalent.
yeah. Well, they do know manufacturing. The old myth, the old misunderstanding that China only makes junk is deeply untrue.
Look at
They're
your
they
iPhone. It's
Yeah,
not junk.
that's the thing is they can make junk, and if
Yeah.
you choose to buy junk, you will get junk. There I love
Mhm.
seeing people say, "Oh, I can't believe it. Look at this beautiful picture of this jacket that I bought on Temu, and here's what it actually looks like." Fortunately, now people are saying, "Right, but you paid like $43. That's clearly a $300 coat. You're not
Yeah.
getting something for nothing. You're
Mhm.
getting, I mean, be reasonable. Look, the first picture's AI. The lady only has one leg." So, I don't know what you expected, but yes, look at
Mhm.
your iPhone, look at the build quality of Teslas made in China, um, and the other manufacturers are not as far behind as people think. I went to a
Mhm.
used car lot to see what they got, and, the cars were a couple years old, and they were not as cheap as you might expect, and they were still in great shape.
Mhm.
I mean, surely there's some survivorship bias there, and surely they did modest refurbishment before putting them up for display, but
Mhm.
these cars are not falling apart the way, people many of my viewers have suspected,
If you
and
get a
that's
chance, um, hop in, whatever the Uber is there, Didi or whatever,
Uh-huh,
as many times as you can, because you will end up, if you take 5 or 10 rides, you'll end up in 5 or 10 different cars. And some of them, when you look at the like I have a Model S, you look at the cockpit,
mhm,
it's cut and paste Model S Tesla.
mhm, hmm,
Um, and they're really nice cars. Even the cheap ones are, and
mhm,
they're these NEVs. You know this. They have green license plates,
yep.
um, and they're just everywhere. It's really remarkable how fast they've moved.
Most of the rides I did were in a brand called Rowie, and it's
Hmm.
a low cost, it's like a $20,000 car. Um,
Yeah,
but it's fine. It
yeah.
doesn't have a big screen, but it does have amazing, uh, external cameras for blind spot
Hmm.
and whatnot, and it even has a third person view of the car. So when you're going around like a curb, you can see what someone on the sidewalk would see. It's
Hmm.
a pretty crazy view. Uh, I did get a comment suggesting that I get with the new eSIM phones and a service like Saley eSIM, hopefully this will help with your service
Hmm.
woes. And
Yeah.
that's, yeah, uh, very interesting. Um, yeah, a question I would have for you and for anybody watching is, are you worried that them covering my airfare and hotel would compromise my integrity?
You know, I think you have a lot of integrity. Um, And I also think like if somebody buys you something like that, there's at least 1% of your brain wanting to make sure that you don't do anything pejorative towards them. So I think you're 99% good.
I think so too. And it is true. And the reality is, it only takes you being nice to me to activate that part of my brain.
Hmm.
And even with like Wu Ling, who kicked us out of their showroom because we didn't have permission to film, uh,
Hmm.
the the Australian gentleman I was hanging out with that day, for reasons unknown to me, decided he was going to go up and ask them confirm that we have permission to film while I was already filming. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, don't do that. Everybody films everything all the time. Don't ask. Don't ask." He's like, "Yeah, we gotta ask." I'm like, "We don't." They kicked me out.
Yeah.
They didn't get a bad review, um, despite how incredibly annoying that was. So, but yeah, the if a company is going to dedicate some time, some effort to show me their product, to tell me about their product, um, I'm not going to go out of my way to be a jerk. And
Hmm.
but I'm not going to like the folks at IM or MI, I don't remember which it is, who have 2 cars. One looks an awful lot like a Model 3 and one looks an awful lot like a Model Y.
Hmm.
They were very nice to me and I had no problem saying, "These are too expensive for what they are. These are just Temu Teslas
Yeah.
and not really any cheaper." They had some extra bells and whistles, which is cool. I'm happy to
Mhm,
point out that their stitching on their fabric looks fantastic, but I found that
mhm.
to be true of all the Chinese cars. Uh, yeah, so I'm not, yeah, afraid of that. But
I'm always interested in like how the American brands are perceived. I remember years ago, a friend of mine there was wearing Nikes, and he was just so proud of them. And I think Tesla's still a very aspirational brand in China. I think everybody is trying to, because so many of the cars are very inexpensive. If you remove the under probably I don't know $20,000 cars, there's very few of them. So I think all those people are aspirationally still looking at a Tesla.
and Tesla is doing their best to keep up with the feature creep you find on so many Chinese cars. I can't tell you how many SUVs and minivans I saw that, and even cars, but really the crossover SUVs and up that had fridges in them. Yeah, this one just comes with a fridge. Really? Because who needs that? Okay, fine. If you want to put a fridge in it, put a fridge in it. A
Hmm.
lot of There were some much better rear seat entertainment options. My
Hmm.
favorite was the back of the seat just has this little port, this little adapter plug port, and you can plug anything into it. A table to do work, but also a tablet. You plug it in and it's powered. It is a powered locking hole.
Hmm.
And now they've got whatever entertainment they want, and they can move it out of the way, and they can take it inside. It's uh yeah. So those things are interesting. And they do have in the YL at least, and I think in the
Hmm.
new Y, but I don't recall, the ability to address the car with a wake up command, and it recognizes who said it, which seat said it. So
Hmm.
that's interesting.
You know what? I'm really curious. I think of the China approach to technology as kind of a 4-point plan. The first, the government says we're going to go into an industry, whether it's robotics or cars. The second plan is they anybody who's willing to step up, they help, and then they sort of sit back. This is like Darwinism on steroids because it's survival of the fittest, and they kind of watch. And then the third part is things start to fall out, and then you end up with the fittest, the strongest, and then they help them go internationally. That's how I kind of think about what China does. Make sense?
Absolutely. And we've seen
Yeah,
it. When EVs were first getting started, they helped everybody. Uh,
everyone.
and and we will start scaling that back until we find who the likely winners are. And then yes, we
Mhm,
will do what we can to help them grow. This was something that I feel China had to do. Electrification. Their air problem, their air quality problem was
it's horrible. Yeah.
outrageous. And if
Was
your
it's better.
it's better. It's and if you're looking at it and saying, yes, but if they're the ones paying the medical bills, then they have a vested interest in clean air and clean water.
Mhm,
And while there are pockets of China where the problem persists, especially more with the water, I imagine, that doesn't
mhm,
mean that they're not taking great strides. And it's a lot of people I've seen comments, very negative comments like, well, but they're so heavily subsidized. Of course they're cheap. I'm like, they're not heavily subsidized. There are incentives and subsidies in place, but that's true of EVs in most, maybe all countries. And it's definitely true in the US, or at least historically, but even still now with the battery production credit. So is everyone cheating? Is that what I mean? I don't understand what the message is. And the other misunderstanding is no Chinese EVs are profitable. The answer is a lot of them are. A lot of those companies are showing real profits. But if you look at how much they're expanding with the R&D, it is eye-watering uh, how much expansion they're investing in. Let me
mhm,
and I've showed this before, but this is BYD's new factory. The colored parts are Tesla factories overlaid on top of it for
mm,
perspective of the size. That's how big
mhm.
BYD's new factory is. That's an expensive place to build.
That's
A place
China.
that big is yes,
Yeah.
that's very China. And it is not a cubic space kind of building, a vertical space kind of building like Tesla's.
Mhm,
And I asked why, and an engineer friend who was there for the auto show, who works with Honda, but has worked with other companies. I asked him why aren't they doing the vertical space thing? Why isn't BYD reinventing manufacturing? And he said, because what if this becomes a stranded asset? Uh, who are you going to sell it to if they would have to change their entire manufacturing philosophy to make it work? If this doesn't work out, they can rent out space to someone else. They can sell space to someone else. And if for some strange reason BYD were to fail entirely, they could just sell it. Whereas Giga Texas, I don't know what other manufacturer could use that space effectively.
It's like a factory prenup.
It's like a factory prenup. Oh, I love it. Do you have any questions for me, Al?
What are you going to eat?
Probably going to stick to the hotel. So the hotel I'm at is the Shangri-La, and they have a 45,000 square foot ballroom. So I wonder if the event is going to be held at the hotel.
Mhm.
But they have the breakfast is included. It's a breakfast buffet. I went and looked at it. It's, pastries and fruit. Okay, one meal down. But they do have restaurants, and the restaurants look international. I mean, there's like a steakhouse. That's surely going to have something I can handle. But looking at the part of town I'm in, it's not a super walkable part of town, I don't think. So I'll probably just eat at the hotel. And I'm only there just under 3 days. That's a
Mhm.
long journey for 3 days, but
A long journey.
it is. It's going to be tricky too. Um, I don't know how full they're going to try and make my schedule, but if they're going to get me in front of not just PR people, but people who can answer actual hard questions, because I would like to look at their cars. I've looked at them before, but I'd like to look at them some more. They do have the whole VTOL thing. They call it a flying car. That's not a flying car. I have some very hard critical questions about that. They have a factory um, to make them. I think it's them that wants to make 10,000 a year. Do you really think there's a market for 10,000 a year? It's okay. Let's talk about it. And then of course their new FSD slash robotaxi. So that's great. They've got level 4 permits. Um, and their CEO went to Silicon Valley to experience FSD in the US as God intended. And that hopefully gets them the answers. They're doing their own AI crunching in-house with their own data that they gathered on their own vehicles. That means, of course, that they are at a deep disadvantage. Um, but that is just how it goes. But we'll see.
You know, I love Teslas. I think they have a lot of advantages, but I think, and in addition to their manufacturing capabilities, but FSD to me is the differentiator on buying a car today. Even
Yeah.
if you don't want to use it, can this car potentially drive me around? And I've been on FSD the last 6 months, like you have and other people, and are just shocked how good it is. And it's my go-to now, where before it was more of a parlor trick. So it's really gotten amazing, and people get that.
I would
But
I would agree.
the hard part for me is China is not, downtown Sacramento or Portland or whatever. It is chaos on steroids, and you don't need like Mad Max mode. You need psycho aggression mode.
Yeah.
We were This is Bangkok, but we were trying to get out of the main street in an Uber, or what is it, anyway, Grab, and the swarm of scooters for any square inch of opening was so bad. We sat there for 45 minutes trying to get out of our hotel, essentially.
Wow.
And if you were on FSD, I'd still be in Bangkok waiting to
Yeah.
go to dinner. So
Yeah.
if people haven't been to China, they haven't seen how driving is, and I hope you get out of the hotel and get in, a little bit out of town a little bit, and see the scooters and the cars interact. It's literally a different world, and I don't know how FSD
Mhm.
is going to manage that.
Yes. I would say that in the cities in China that they have rebuilt. I know Hangzhou was rebuilt from the ground up, which is crazy. I know I think Suzhou had I might be Suzhou I'm thinking of, but it made the roads a lot more civilized, a lot more predictable and sane. And it's you don't see people going the wrong way down one ways because it's quicker anymore. And so but it would take a lifetime or more to make all the other cities modernized in that way too. And I don't know if that's even an objective. So yeah, I will we'll see. And on in terms of FSD as a feature for a car, when I do reviews, I go to Platt Auto in Milwaukee, Oregon to look at their inventory, their used cars. And they're gracious enough to help me make the videos, answer my questions. Um, when I review those cars, I have to include the caveat that if you want just a car, this one is pretty good. I am ruined by FSD. On version 11, it was a party trick. I wouldn't use it.
Mhm.
Today, summon is a party trick. I won't use it unless almost no one's around
Mhm.
because it has been deeply unreliable. And I don't, it's not dangerous. It's too safe. It's so safe that it'll just stop for anything. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
great. Now I'm blocking and I got to go jog. Uh,
Right.
but, but version 12, maybe 12, mid 12s and later
Mhm.
are stunning. They just work. I don't it's not a party trick. It's just something I do. It's just part of it now. So that's wonderful. Uh, a question: do people in China charge at home? And I'd have to assume the answer is no, because if you live in the city, you're you almost certainly don't have a house. You have a condo, an apartment. And while there may be charging in the building, I don't know. I will ask. I will ask around while I'm there. Uh, yeah, it's a good question. My big question for China, what I'd heard on the previous trip was that for their FSD, for their robo taxis, not the FSD, but for robo taxis, what I was told was that by law, the supervisor ratio was 1 to 3. So that would be a real obstacle, but it would also be an opportunity to get your vehicles out quicker. Because if you've got one person overseeing 3 vehicles, guaranteed, that's a lot of supervision. That's a lot. Uh,
But there's almost no place in the world where people are more available for something like that than
yeah.
China. You look at a construction site, and what could be done with a few machines is done by 100 people. Um,
Increasingly not. Increasingly
Increasingly
not.
not.
And those
Yeah,
people need a job now, so they're
yeah,
available. When
yeah.
we watched Shanghai get built, Giga Shanghai, the first phase of it, it was wild seeing some of the equipment they dragged out to do these projects. There were farm tractors hauling stuff. There were
Mhm.
um, Caterpillar type equipment, but it was clearly undersized for the task. And
Yeah,
now when you look at even the later phases of Giga Shanghai, all the equipment is new, modern, appropriate. Um, it's wild. I remember in 2002-ish, yeah, probably 2004, maybe it was 2004 when I was there. They had the buildings were still using bamboo for scaffolding. And I know parts of the world they're still doing that. It's bamboo's very strong. It's also very cheap. So we'll use that for our scaffolding. Uh, and
the
yeah,
juxtaposition between old and new in China is mind blowing. You'll see the most modern architecture building, and then somebody on a 100-year-old bike pulling literally stacks of coal um, to heat their food or whatever. And yeah, it just there's so much old and there's so much new, and I
yeah,
find it fascinating how it interacts.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's weird. And yeah, you do still see the guys on three-wheel bikes hauling cargo around town.
Yeah.
Uh, but now those bikes are electrically assisted, and some of them clearly did that themselves. It's great, great.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
if it works, it works. I know that next to the hotel I stayed at in Shanghai, the Fish Inn, that's a great name. There was an apartment next door, and everybody would park their scooter in the little scooter parking area and plug them in at night.
Hmm.
And that's one solution. And I know there were places I saw where it wasn't the scooters that were charging, but just the batteries. Everybody would plug in their batteries to this big hub of charging.
They have
Uh,
also battery swap stations for scooters where you go, the app, there's a panel, the door pops open, you put your battery in, a door pops open, you take a new one out, and you're on your way. The other thing that is really cool, because if you spend a full day in China, you're going to run out of cell phone battery.
yeah.
And if you're carrying a brick these days, the airlines are going to make you feel like a criminal. So you're kind of a little stuck. There are thousands upon thousands of cell phone um, chargers that you can that basically scan. It'll pop out of a machine, and then you could use it, and then you could put it back into any other machine, and they're everywhere. I didn't notice them until I was with a friend of mine who like said, "Oh, I need a cell phone charge," because I didn't even know what the machines were. But there's just
Hey,
racks and racks and racks of these little chargers almost everywhere.
huh. I haven't noticed them, so that's fun. My big frustration when I was leaving the auto show was a lot of places you can still use cash. Even on the subway, you can still use cash. It's not as easy.
Barely. Yeah.
There's like one kiosk that will accept cash out of the
Yeah.
30 selling tickets.
Yeah.
And what I had was there's an old 1 RMB coin and a new RMB
Old one's
1
no
RMB
good.
coin. The old one's no, so I get to the machine and I have enough money, but what I don't
Uh-huh.
have is enough of the right money, and
Right.
my digital payments don't work. So I've got to like wander around and try and find someone who will either trade me money or find an ATM. There's no ATMs
There's
where
no
I
ATMs
was
because nobody uses cash.
because nobody uses cash. And
Yeah.
finally, what I did is I just went and stood by the machine and waited for another gringo to show up. And I was like, "Hey, man, can you
Could
help
you
me?"
help me?
And he
Yeah.
had ground support, local ground support with him. And the guy's like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course. Here, just give me there. Here's your ticket." It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it took me hour two to leave. To it was incredible.
I was in a Starbucks years ago in China, and I went to pay with RMBs with cash, and
Hmm.
they just looked at me and they said no. And the
No,
barista finally basically scanned my check and took the money from me
that's
to help
funny.
me out. But I've never been to a place where it's so hard to use money.
When I got to the auto show, you have to check in digitally. And I went up to the person holding the help sign and said,
Mhm.
"I don't have data." She's like, turned on her Wi-Fi hotspot. I'm like, "Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you." Goddamn gringos, man.
Yeah.
So it's not my fault. I didn't make it so that my phone wouldn't work. Forgot about electric scooters in Taiwan in the 90s. There were gas powered scooters everywhere, and the operators were wearing masks.
So I was just in
Yeah.
Taipei, and most of the scooters were gas, and in China they were electric. So still the
Um,
case.
Nepal, all the scooters and bikes are still gas. The
Yeah.
cars have really, really gone electric in a hurry.
Mhm.
And it's I asked why not bikes? And the answer I got was because the incentives haven't carried over to the non four-wheel vehicles yet, and that
Mhm.
they may do that at some point, but and they're just kind of, it makes them not cost competitive. And in Nepal, I saw a long line of cars waiting to get gas because it, you
It's
got to get
Nepal.
it's Nepal. And it's you're in town. It's not like there's enough
Yeah.
room to build more, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, crazy. What I'd like to see, and I've said this before, is level one chargers at airports. My airport has free level two charging, but not
Mhm.
enough spots. You're
Mhm.
lucky if you get a spot. And give me 3 times, 5, 10 times more level 1. I
Mhm.
know Atlanta has level 1 charging. Wonderful, wonderful. I don't need more than a percent or 2 a day while I'm gone. You know, it any amount is great. Just give me more spots.
And it's crazy 'cause you go to pull in and there might be 3 spots, you leave your car there for 20 days.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and then I am the bad guy. I didn't mean to
well,
be.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's kinda weird.
yeah,
At my local airport, they now have, I don't know, maybe a Charge America or something, and I often pull in there when I'm waiting to pick somebody up because I got a Tesla, and it kinda looks like I belong there even though I'm not charging, and it's convenient.
yeah,
And I've been watching it over the last few years go from nobody there, like a tumbleweeds coming through, and then occasionally a Hyundai would come in, and now there's a pretty good variety of different EVs. I've also seen people really frustrated because they can't get it to work, and that's improved also over time. So it's just interesting
true.
watching these trends.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, any resolutions for the new year, Al?
Um, I'm turning 65 in a couple of weeks, which is remarkable. So I just want to like stay healthy and happy, and um, I, I I think we're all really fortunate to live in such an incredible fast pace of change. And some days it scares the crap out of me, but I like being in it. I like watching it, and I'm optimistic about the future.
Yeah, it's, you know, there's plenty to be worried about, um, but that's always been true. It's just that some of the things are different now. So, kinda play it by ear. I, of course, have resolutions. I have a spreadsheet that tracks them mathematically because that's what I do. Uh, I've gotten better about not having spreadsheets of spreadsheets because that's worse. Um, but I used to. Uh, Now I just have a document with, 10 tabs in it, and they, of course,
Mhm,
reference each other. So that doesn't count in my book because I
mhm.
guess it should. I guess that is a spreadsheet of spreadsheets, but, um, yeah, it's, I just feel fortunate that I decided to start the channel before before AI started ruining opportunities for people like me, because now I'm competing with AI slop, and it's everywhere, and it's hard to compete with because while it's worse today, it's only gonna get better and easier to make, and pretty soon it will overrun things. It'd be nice if if YouTube had a tab for people who are real, because in the future we'll need that. And YouTube, of course, is all every Google company now is all about perverse incentives. They say they want to crack down on AI, but they don't. They just want more views. And in the short term, this will get them more views. But in the long term, it'll kill it. AI, the real trick is I saw this cartoon that really summed it up. It was a person looking for information, and Google is standing in front of a small store with the owner, like, looking out at him, and Google says, "Yes, all the information you want is right in that store, but why don't I just summarize it for you so you don't even have to go in?"
Mhm.
And that's why publishing is dying, is because the ad revenue is drying up. The views are drying up because the search engines are stealing the information and giving it away for free. And
Mhm.
how someone has to what are you gonna train on once you've put us all out of business? Each
You
other?
know, I don't know what you're complaining about. Your first name is not Al, which has now morphed into AI, and I'm basically screwed.
Yeah, you're Al generated,
Yeah,
your
that's why you
content.
asked me, do you want me to just put Al on there? And I'm like, no, everybody would say AI, and they think I was some sort of synthetic being.
Uh, Definitely true. Definitely. I mean, how do we know?
How do we
I
know?
have had people meet me at events and go, "You're real." I'm like, if I was gonna AI it, I don't think this is what I'd go with. Um, yeah. There are content creators who apply filter a little too liberally, where
Mhm.
one of them, and I'm not going to name names, but uh, one of them was at an event, and a very small event. And one of my viewers came up and said, "Is so and so here?" And I go, "Yeah, right there." And they were like, "I did not recognize." Like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit of
Yeah.
filter. Uh, if you have any more questions, we can go on a little longer. If anyone has any questions in the comments, ask them now. Uh, this one was any channels that appear AI inevitably.
Or
Oh,
Al
any channel, yeah.
inevitably.
Al that appear Al inevitably. It's your middle name. Even if they get me to watch a few episodes, once I flag it as AI, it doesn't. It gets a don't recommend channel from me. And for me,
The
it's the
market
same thing.
is gonna fight back, right?
I've had videos where I'm watching it and I'm halfway through, and it mispronounces something in a way that no human ever would. And you're
Yes.
like, oh, like
Mhm.
if it, I can't think of the actual one that I saw, but it was something like calling Chicago the windy city. And you're like, nope, nope, no human's going to screw that up. You had me. And in 6 months, it'll not make that mistake. And that's why a lot of the channels I watch um, are ones where they'll like be narrating, uh, you know, court footage or real footage. They've started appearing in their videos for the first time because they need us to know that they're real.
Mm.
Because if it's just a voice, that's a lot. Today you can clone a voice quite effectively. But yeah, it is frustrating. Um,
We could have a whole discussion about AI someday because that's a deep well.
oh, oh. It's wonderful in some ways, but it's a double-edged sword. It really is. Um, yeah. And there are channels in the Tesla community that are already leaning on it really heavily. And
Mhm.
over the short term, maybe it makes them successful. But there's one channel in particular I know that started leaning into it a few months ago, and his views have been going down. And good, because get back to what you're good at, man. Being human.
Mhm.
So okay, guys. Well, Al, I thank you. Stay on. We'll have a a wrap up after it ends, which is momentarily. Thanks everyone for checking it out. We will try and do this again next week. I'm back on the 10th. Um, is that Sunday that I'm back? Is the 10th a Sunday? I don't know. But we should be able to do it again next Sunday at the same bat time. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.